Okay, everyone, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I would like to welcome you to this class, one of the sessions in your course, and I am recording this, so you'll be able to go back and look at it because I'm going to be throwing a lot of resources at you with a lot of information, and I don't expect you to come out and remember everything, but what I want you to know is how to find the grant LibGuide so that when you want to go back and find these things, you'll be able to find this video, the PowerPoints, as well as all of the resources on there. So first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Julia Esparza. I'm the Associate Director of the Health Sciences Library and Professor of the Department of Medical Library Science. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that you can see the PowerPoint. The PowerPoint is already on the, Moodle, but I'll also be putting it on the grant LibGuide. So let's go ahead. All right, it's not going to let me do that. Turn it off. Why are you not? Okay. So our objectives, you're going to learn how to identify resources to find grant opportunities, and there are many grant opportunities for graduate students. So I just wanted to let you know that. And the students will be able to identify the resources to support their development of grants. Part of this class is how do you write a grant, how do you develop it, and these resources are going to be very helpful for you as you're going forward with that. So the first thing I want you to do is to note that the library has its own website, and on that website, which is found at this URL, is a link that's called LibGuide's Subject Portals. And if you click that, there are two ways to get to the grant LibGuide. First of all, there's a basic sciences LibGuide. So if you didn't know that, here's your acknowledgement that you have your own LibGuide with all of these resources that have been pulled out for you. And on this is the Grant Resources tab, which will take you to the Grant Resources LibGuide. And on this, it has some basic information about the NIH public access policy. It has the Department of Research, the writing consultants that I'm not going to talk about, but you're going to have a session later about writing consultants and writing grants. And then also, it has all of these different resources that we're going to talk about today. So, let's go ahead and get started. So on this home page, there is a link. I'm sorry. Does anybody have a question? No? Okay. And everyone is muted right now, so if you want to ask a question, feel free. I should have said that to begin with. I'm not going to be looking at the chat though, so just unmute yourself and ask and get my attention. So on this LibGuide is the Office for Special Projects, which is where the grant information for our institution is located. It's a link to Grant Forward that I'm going to talk about, grants.gov, and then some basic resources and links. And I'm going to go through all of this as we go through this PowerPoint. So the Office of Special Projects, you must be on campus or the VPN because it's on the intranet, that annoying thing that pops up and says, put your username and password in, even when you're on campus. So that's there. Grant Forward and grants.gov is where you can find some opportunities. So the first thing is when you go to the Office for Special Projects, you'll find that they have a documents page, and that's what I'm linking you to because our home page is blank. I haven't figured out why they've done that, but it's blank. So if I've got you going straight to the documents page, from there you can see that they update different documents because of funding guidelines and things like that. So when you click on documents, there's Office for Sponsored Programs here. And here there's a budget tool. So if you're developing a budget for your project that you're writing for this course, here's a budget tool that you can look at to get some ideas. It has document templates and grant application support documents. So the budget tool is for calculating out your expenses that you may have involved with your grant. The regular documents are commonly used NIH forms. There's your biosketch and your face page and all of the other things that are typically, every grant has this in their document. And so they provide these here so that you can know what you have to write. Then there's also document templates that are located in here, as well as grant application, the cost and rates agreements. So that's the cost that the institution gets paid and the things that we have to take in consideration when we're applying for a grant, because the federal government requires certain specifics. So, and I'm sure you'll learn more about that in your course you're going through. So these are all of the documents there for that. Now, one of the other things it has is under documents is grants for pre-doctoral fellows. And so you can go in and you can read about these. These are 4 offerings that are currently available. Or if they're not available, they'll be available next fall. So you can try to take advantage of them then. So that's always nice to know that there might be some money there. Also, there's the policies and procedures. Every institution you're going to work at, whether it's industry, and government, academic institution, private, they're all going to have their own policies and procedures about grants. And it's important for you to know what those are and at least kind of look those over as you're going through and starting a grant writing process. And one of the things that I suggest to people who are new to the institution, who are starting their journey towards promotion and tenure, is that they go in and they look at these different guidelines and policies and procedures so they understand the scope, if there's any limits on what they can do and what they can't do. For my department, we don't do any grants that involve cost sharing. That's now, it happens to be our department policy. Other departments may do that, but a lot of departments avoid cost sharing because we don't have that kind of capital like at endowments that Harvard or other places have. So, that's just one of those things you wouldn't know if you're starting out. And if you're looking for grants and you haven't eliminated cost sharing, you can get excited about something and get really disappointed then. So, under pages on this website, if you get offers for sponsored programs again, you'll find intramural grants. And this is other different types of grants that you can look at. And once again, it has listed down there the grants for graduate students. I highly just recommend you going and looking at these pages to get familiar with them. It doesn't take that long. There's not that much there. But it's nice to know, okay, these are the opportunities. When you go and you start your promotion and tenure, or you start an industry job and you're going to be looking at possible research offerings, go to whatever place they have that their Office of Technology is sometimes called, or grants or whatever, research, and look through their website and get familiar with the things that are internal offerings without even having to go and write for an outside grant. So now the next thing, how many of you have ORCID? And you should see at your bottom of the screen, it says reactions. You can raise your hand if you have an ORCID. Or you can, I don't know, some of you are on iPhone, so I don't know if you can raise it. Anyway, no one has?
I don't have, yeah.
You don't? Okay, so I'm going to take you through, because one of the most important things for grant writing is ORCID. ORCID is how you take your intellectual capital and put it in one place so that when you have your CV, when you are applying for grants, when you're doing anything, all of your information's there and you just provide them with the link. So I'm going to take you through how you sign up and then some of the basics about how it works so that you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like and how valuable it'd be on your journey. One of the biggest things that we have with some of the faculty that are junior faculty is they don't keep track of stuff as they're going through. And then they're like, when did I write that paper? When was that poster? When did I do this? When did I do that? ORCID helps you do that. So I'm one of those obsessive compulsive types. As soon as I do something, I update my CV and I update ORCID. I do both of them at the same time. And I also do LinkedIn. But I have that for another reason. So ORCID is here. You can sign in. You can register now. One of the things I tell people, don't register with anything with Facebook. When you do that, you're basically kind of linking your professional capacity with possibly your social capacity. And that's not necessarily something that you want to have out there. So I always suggest to people that they don't use Facebook for this. Google's fine if you want to use that to set up your account, but I suggest always that you never use Facebook. They give you the option, but I wouldn't use that. So you have to fill in your first name, your last name, your primary email. When you put in your email, it will come up, and this is the second half of the page. It will come up with, actually it's not this. When you fill all this out, I'm sorry, I'm getting confused with Grant Forward. Ignore what I just said. So you fill this out, you fill out the second page, you have to agree to their privacy and their terms and conditions, and then you click register. Once you've registered, then you can log in. And this is what it looks like from you as the person who's putting your data in. So I have all of my employment since the day I started working as a professional. I have, and on the left side, this URL is the URL that's basically your research Social Security. That's how I look at it. This will be your identifiable way you can exchange your intellectual capital with someone else if you want to just give them one link. So it's got my education in here. Don't look at the dates. You'll know how old I am. I have all my funding opportunities in here. So all of the grants I've gotten, I had 9 grants over the time. So I've got all that in here. When you open up a grant and you click on it, this is what someone will see when they're looking at your profile. They'll see the description of their grant and everything else that you have. You can also put in your work. So I have 73 works. I have book chapters, peer-reviewed journal articles, newsletter articles, conference posters, conference papers. I have everything in there. I've done keynote speeches. So I've got those things in here as well. And I everything's in here. I mean, it's all there so that anyone can go back and see the stuff that I've done. And so this is what it looks like to the public. So it opens to your employment, and then they can collapse it and go through all of the other different areas. So I, once again, have, like I said, I have this on my CV. So my CV has all this information, but I also have a link, because if you're going to apply for jobs and the department that you may be going to interview at or something else may not want to share your full CV because it may have personal information on it, they can share with all of the people who you may be talking with your ORCID ID very easily, and that people can see what you put on there instead of seeing maybe your home address and all of these other things that may be on your full CV. So that's one of the nice things about having ORCID. Plus, you're going to need ORCID unless you're going to do it in my NCBI later. Having ORCID already done eliminates that step when you're doing your bio sketch and everything for NIH grants. So let's talk about grants.gov. So grants.gov has all sorts of resources on it, and you can register for it. Now, grants.gov is like our email and username and password. They reset, you have to reset it every so many days. It's very annoying. And I can never get, they have special requirements, and I'm always like, it takes me like 5 times to get a new password that's acceptable. So it's a little bit of frustration there, but it's a great resource to have. So you can get registered now, and you just fill in your information. And I get grants.gov alerts as well as their newsletter. You don't have to get those. You can just uncheck those if you don't want to see that information. When you register, it'll send a temporary code, and you have to have some way, you'll have to go in your email that you've used to register to get that code. And once you put that in, then you'll be confirmed. So you can add an organization applicant profile, and if you do that, then it asks you to put in your institution. So I don't have a shot for that. So you can always check to see if you're logged in by looking at up in the upper right hand corner, and it'll say my account if you're logged in, and register if you're, or log in if you're not. So the big thing about this is searching for grants. So the search process is horribly ugly. This is the search interface. It's very powerful, but it's not very user-friendly when you look at it. It's sort of intimidating. So you can do a keyword search. If you have an opportunity that you already heard about, you can actually put that opportunity number in there. You can look at forecasted or posted. The ones that are closed or archived are only good if you want to see what things an agency may have had issued before. A lot of times, though, you don't necessarily, very rarely you're going to use this. So now that you're in this interface, a couple of things to remember how it doesn't work like other resources. So if you put in the word in water conservation in Google, it looks for water and conservation in that sheet, in your search results. Those words have to be there. However, in grants.gov, when you put those two words in, it ORs them. So it says you can have water or conservation. So that's a little frustrating unless you know why you're getting so many results. It's because it's doing ORs, not doing ANDs. So, and there's all of the other things that you can do if you want to do more complex searching. So if you put addiction and imaging in, and then you go down here towards the bottom and click just Department of Health and Human Services, you'll get 50 matching results. That's because addiction may be in one of these, or imaging may be in one of these. You're not necessarily seeing both. So if you want to see just addiction and imaging because you want to do a research on brain imaging, on addiction for some particular reason, because we've done that kind of research here, then you would need to put addiction and imaging in, and then you get, and it only takes you down to one, and it's the VA, a grant for the VA. And what happens is when you do a new search, it wipes out these other things down here that you may have checked off. It's a little frustrating in that regard. So once you've found something, you click on this number, and it opens up all the details about the grant, which is really great, so that you can look and see when is it due. Is it restricted? Some grants are restricted to U.S. citizens. Lots of grants are not restricted to U.S. citizens. So it just depends. It all has that kind of information in here. Once you've looked at a grant, or you found a search that you like, so you've put in and you've played around with it, and you said, oh, I like the things that I see when this search runs. these are the things I want to get alert about. So when you do that, you can save the search, and it's very simple. You can say, you put in, it's basically the search form in a different way, but you give it a search name at the top. So once you've done that, and you can check off the agencies that you may want, and then you can hit save. And after you've done that, if you click your save searches, you'll see the listing, and it'll show you when it was last updated. So you can set it up in a different place, not to actually get these emailed to you. You could purposely go into the website and click view results. So you can do that, or you can, as I said, set it up that you'll get them on a regular basis. So I get these 3 on a regular basis. So every Monday, I think it is, I get an email for these so that I can look over them and see if there's anything we want to apply for. If you want to edit, you can just edit the information and hit save again. Some of the things that are available for you to put in is whether or not you want cooperative agreements or grants, your eligibilities. So I never mess with that because I figure I can visually eliminate anything that's probably not important. I don't use categories that much because I'm doing specific keywords, so I'm not worried. But if you just want to do a category that's very broad, you could just pick that and then see all of the things that come out on that area. Or you could pick just an agency. See, like we do things for the Department of Defense here. We have grants through them. So a lot of times people don't realize if they're doing health, they might want to look at Department of Defense or Department of Education or Energy. Some of those, we have grants at this institution from all of those different areas. You can manage your searches. Once again, it comes right back to the same place. You can view results. And so this is a more complex search that I did. I picked some agencies. I have some categories here that I can do, and it pulls up a set of resources or a set of grant opportunities here. You can manage your subscriptions, and this is where you can set subscribe to save searches for grant opportunities, and you can subscribe to the other things. One of the things I'm going to tell you right now, do not subscribe to all new grant opportunities because your email will explode. It's like, I just did it one time to see just how much would you get, and it was just unreal. So don't do that. If you can use all of this, and subscribing to opportunities is okay because that's typically you already know the grant number and you're waiting for it to be released. So you may have heard on the grapevine that such and such grant is going to be coming open, and you know what the number is. You can put it, you can put that as a saved search, and then you can see it as an opportunity. And you can add an opportunity subscription. And if you know the funding opportunity number, you can do that. And so this was an opportunity number that someone had suggested to me, and it was on end of life and palliative care health literacy communication. And so I've watched that, and it's something that they do every year that I keep hoping that someday I'm going to be able to apply if I get all of the other things off my plate. And then you have your saved searches for your grant opportunities. So that's grants.gov. That's just one major resource. So I'm going to talk about some resources now to help you write your grant application. So you may have, or you're going to create your biosketch. So what you do with that biosketch is you put it in Science CV, or Science CV. I guess that's how it's pronounced. This gives you all of the information about the different kinds of stuff and examples and things like that. But if you go to Science CV, you click here to start, and this is some detailed information. And once again, we're not going to have a lot of time, so I'm not going to read all this stuff to you. You guys can obviously can read, or you went in grad school. So you can create a MyNCBI account, which is required for you to put the CV in. Okay. So if you don't have the MyNCBI account, you'll have to do that. So you set up the account. Once again, you could use Google. I'm old school, so I created my MyNCBI account so long ago. We didn't even have these options. So mine's just a generic. When I registered many years ago. After you've registered, then you click here to start, and you notice up here in this corner, it's showing that I'm logged into my NCBI. So the very first thing that comes up is your details. Now, when you do this, it'll be blank. For me, I filled in my information. You can fill in your information. And look, like I said, what are they going to have in here for your details? Your ORCID ID. So you might as well just, like I said, start it and get in the process. So here, when you go in, you're going to create a new document. I already have some things set up. So you can do, if you're doing a biosketch, whether or not you're doing a fellowship, all of those different things. So there's you can link to your ERA Commons account. You won't do that until you actually apply for a grant that's through the institution, and they connect you. So that's one of the things that you don't have to do right away. I have mine private because I don't want people seeing it, because I haven't finished my biosketch. I've just done some basic things with it. So that's the reason why I keep it private. You'll need to make it public when you apply for a grant, though. Okay, that's a NIH grant. You can edit, and this is where you would add your ERA Commons link if you're actually applying. But here I've entered my ORCID ID. You enter your education and your training. You put in your personal statement. You put your position and honors in. I haven't done any of that. And you can, once you've finished it, you can download it in a PDF so that you can attach it to anything that you may need to attach it to. So that's the SciCV. That's you might as well, if you're writing your biosketch for this course, you might as well go in, set up your account, and put this information in so that you at least have something in there to go with and start. So later, when you're actually applying for a grant, you're not starting from zero. Okay. So there's a whole bunch of other learning resources under grants.gov, and so Grants 101, it talks about the grant life cycle, pre-award phase, the award phase, post, getting started checklist. It's got all the policies, different things like that, and grant-making agencies. So this is the different agencies. They all have their own pages, and it has their websites. It talks about different grant highlights on these pages. So if you go to Health and Human Services, which a lot of our grants are through them, you can click on Grants and Contracts, and you can click on Grants and Contracts, and then you'll learn even more information about grants and contracts for HHS. So one of the things that you'll see, we already have linked to on the the Grant Resources LibGuide, is how to apply for application guide. So that's that HHS link, that this link right here is already on this page, so you don't have to look for it. And here it is. So this is the National Institutes of Health, how to apply, how to develop your budget. Once again, if you've got to develop a budget for what you're writing for this course, it talks about types of applications and things like that, how you can submit, track, and everything else. National Cancer Institute, if you were at that granting agencies link off of the grants.gov, you'll see that have grants and training, and it goes through their entire grant process. And so while there's a common method for grant writing for most of the government agencies, there may be specifics to the National Cancer Institute or the the Department of Defense that are things that you need to be aware of when you're writing. And so going to these pages and learning, so if you're going to be probably working in the area of cancer research, then you might want to go in and look over what are the types of things that they want that are unique to their grant applications outside of other ones. And that's one of the things that you'll need to be aware of. There's also the Center for Scientific Review, which will talk about applicant process and planning and writing, and they have a lot of resources as well. Under our grants.gov, you'll see that there's all of the grants.gov YouTube videos. There's a link to those. And this is the intro to it, so you can just watch this to start. And then there's the grants.gov link. So proposal writing tips. So these are different areas where they have given writing tips for different places. And then there's, if we have learned of specific places like the American Heart Association that are non-government resources, we try to list them on here, but we don't have that many listed because we don't go and scour for those. But if somebody says, hey, did you know, we stick them on here. And we do actually have a lot of people who get American Heart Association pre-doctoral grants. So that's one of the reasons why this is up on this page. So the bottom lines when you're looking at all of these different tools is to know that you can get them all off the grants resources LibGuide, and that you have an unlimited set of resources to try to make your first grant application the best you could ever have. If you talk to Terry Davis, who is an international worldwide leader in health literacy and reviews NIH grants for that area, she will tell you that, you know, she can always tell the first time grant applicants because they don't, well, a lot of times she doesn't even see those, but you know, she can tell the first times because they just haven't learned the process yet as well, and how to write their applications as well, because you don't necessarily have a lot of area to write. Most of these grant applications are 10 pages plus your budget and some other stuff. So when you're writing these, you have to make sure that everything's spelled right. You know, if it doesn't even make it past to the review committee, if things are not in the proper format that they're supposed to be. So knowing all of this information is incredibly important to, you know, getting it. Because if you get your grant to the actual review committee and it's not accepted, they will send back comments for you to know and how to improve your grant the next time you apply. So that's something you want to get it to the actual review committees as far as possible. The further up the chain you can get it, the more commentary you're going to get back. So if you have questions or you need, you know, hey, I don't know where to find this, you can email me. You can call my office. I highly suggest emailing me because I'm really bad about checking my office voicemail, but I'm always checking my email constantly. So now that we've done that, the next thing I want to go in and do is I want to talk about Grant Forward. So can you see this new PowerPoint, or do I need to change my sharing? Do you see Grant? Nope. You do? Okay, awesome. Okay, so, oh, no, I don't have the right one. I still did it wrong. Let me pull it up. Where are you showing me? Okay, I see what's going on. I may have to, I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Why is it? I am not. Oh, there it is. New share. I want. All right. Let me stop this. It'll just be easier if I do it this way. Okay, now let's try it. All right, so now you can see the grant, creating a grant forward. Is that good? Okay, so creating a grant forward profile and basic searching. So grants.gov is great, wonderful, but I don't know how many of you realize that there are a ton of industry and non-government grants out there that will never show up in grants.gov. And these areas can be priceless when you're looking for things to start out, because as you build your portfolio and have more grants, it shows that you're a successful researcher, and it makes your government grant application stronger as well. So Grant Forward is a resource that searches those, it searches government, but it also searches industry and private grants or association grants. So it's really important to be tapped into this resource. The other thing that's nice about it is you can just set it to show you for graduate students resources, which is a little bit easier to do in this than in grant.gov. So depending on how you want to function, you could just use this. I happen to do both, and but you know, you may just want one resource to look at. And you know, when you get the email, it's just a title. So you can kind of go in and you can just ignore the email if there's nothing that perks your interest, or then you can kind of go in and look at them. So it's not like you're going to be inundated with emails as you're going through. So this is Grant Forward. The institution pays for an organizational access, which means we have full functionality for this resource. There is a free mechanism, but doesn't have all the bells and whistles that make it as the best thing for you to utilize. So you want to make sure when you register and you sign up, that you use your LSU HSC email. When you put that email in, it recognizes that you are a client of this, either our institution or New Orleans, because we both pay for it. So what you need to do is make sure that you check off when you register that it's LSU Health Sciences Center Shreveport, okay? And that's the big thing about creating your account. You can also put down if you want student specifically, or if you want to just leave it at the default. And I just leave it at the default, which pulls both. So when you do it, you'll get an email that says, thank you for creating your account. And after you get that, you can log in. Now, one of the things that you're going to want to do is start building your profile. And the profile is important because it's how you're going to have the system let you know about grant opportunities. So you start building your profile, you put in your name, and I didn't correct that, it's supposed to be professor. You put in your name, you can put your graduate, student, fellow, whatever, your department. Then you get to your research interests. So the advantage of the research interests is you can take your CV and load your entire CV in to this system, and it will actually pull data from it to help build your research profile. So even if your CV is only a couple of pages, but you have your posters or papers or things that you've done, it will help build off of that for you, for your searching. So you can select a method. I put my whole curriculum vitae in. When you want it to update your publication page, do you say you want it monthly or things like that? You can also put in your ORCID ID, so it'll also pull the data from there. So if you happen to have missed something on your CV, it'll be on your ORCID. You can pull that from, I have it search ORCID every 6 months. And then you can also add more interests. So when you put in your CV, it looks for keywords and it develops this and it will show you everything you want. So obviously it pulled up all of these different things, but I don't want it to pull things that are poster presentation, poster presented. I mean, that's that's not keywords that are going to help me with my research. So you do have to edit these keywords and go through and uncheck the things that are not really of interest. So I have things like morning report and surgical patient safety because I've written a chapter on that. But I don't care about student success and I don't care about institutional archives. Even though I've done some minor research in that area, I was just like secondary to the person who was doing the main research. So you can go through and do that. There's also, and if you're starting out and you don't have a CV that has a lot of information on it, you can go in and actually select interests and rate how high or low your interest is in that area. So obviously for me, I'm very interested in information seeking. How do people find the information they need to do their jobs or to study? I'm also very interested in information malpractice because that ties back to patient safety. I'm very interested in health literacy and consumer health because I've done a lot of work in there. So that's how you set it up. You could put in your education, your biography, your picture, all of those things. You can make your profile public, which 87% they say of the people who have a profile have it public. If you're just starting out and you don't want to have it public right now, you can turn that off. And you can also make it public, but say, I only want to display my research interest and publications. I don't want to display my basic information. So it would just be your name, wouldn't say any details about where you work or anything like that. And receive recommendation emails. I get them weekly from this system. So now, after you do all of that and you press finish, these little gears are going to sit there and process, and it can take up to 20 minutes of processing all of the information you've put in to build your researcher profile. It's really quite interesting how they're data mining your data. So after it's done, it'll give it a check mark that shows you're done. And this is what it looks like now if for like the public when they're viewing it. They're not going to see this edit and export, but they'll see this basic information that I have listed here. And then further down, from your CV and the things that you checked and unchecked, as far as, I mean, nothing that was unchecked is in here. This is my word cloud of my research interests. So you can share that. Like I share this with other people so that, first of all, I think it's really cool how it develops it, but also it shows, that my major interests are information malpractice and information seeking, which is exactly right. So, so this is how it's all set up. It'll already in your profile also show you after it's finished your recommended grants right off the top. So bam, you have your recommended grants. And, so this is like dead on. innovative approaches to studying cancer communication. That would be something that I'd be highly interested in if I had the time to actually apply for something like that. And once again, if you click on this, then it gives you the same detail that you saw earlier when we were clicking on research information. And your eligibility, all of that information is in here. So you can always go back to the main page of Grant Forward by hitting Grant Forward. And you can go to Advanced Search. And when you go to Advanced Search, you'll get a page that is sort of like the NIH, but it's a little bit different. So because I'm signed in, it automatically loaded a search for me. It's like my basic search, all right? This is where you can tell it to, you only want sponsors. And you know what I'm going to do? I am actually going to stop sharing this. And I'm going to go into it so that you guys can see it a little bit better. Okay, so it recognizes me, and if I go to Advanced Search, oh, wait a minute, you're not seeing this. Hold on. Are you seeing this? Do you see the, nope, okay. I love, technology is wonderful, but it's also very, very hard. Okay, so when I first clicked on from the grants resources libguide, I got here. This is the main page. Here's my, shows I'm signed in, and it'll keep you signed in, I'm pretty sure, you know, until you sign out purposely. If you go to Advanced Search, you'll see sort of what, like I said, it's loading up my basic search that it's pulled up, and it's got some of the basic things. I have no interest in anything closed. It's got life sciences because that's my main search. I'm only interested in grant types that are research projects, workshops or conferences or collaborative. I'm only looking for individual. Here is where you can do graduate. So if I want to only see graduate, I click that, and now I have 317 opportunities in life sciences. Okay? If I want to say it's got to be an academic institution, it's probably not going to limit that much. I still, yeah, 317 is what. Do you all know the difference between an open and continuous grant? So an open grant is one that's maybe a one-time grant. So like there's tons of open grants on COVID, whereas continuous is something that is like the NIH has a 5-year plan. So they're going to have a continuous grant in a particular area for over 5 years. So you can apply for a continuous and maybe get it multiple years, depending on how long your research is going to take, but you have to basically apply to keep continuing to do it. Or you can at any time apply for one of those continuous, as long as your research will fit within that grant period. So, you know, some continuous, like the one that I was showing you in grant.gov on the hospice, that's a continuous. So that's been like a 5-year grant opportunity. So that's one of the things that you may want. So if you're going to be at an institution for another year, you may not want to look at something that's continuous. You may only want to look at something that's open, you know, and look at things that way. So this is the 317 that are chosen for this area. And if I wanted to do something like addiction, because we do a lot of research here. Wait a minute. Is it going to come up with anything? Nope, it doesn't. So in that case, if I wanted to look up addiction, I'd have to put it up here. Okay, so that found 7 opportunities for graduate students, not post-grad, on addiction research. So neuroimmune signaling and functioning in substance use disorders. That sounds like something that we would do here at this institution, because I've seen the poster presentations that the graduate students have done. So, that's one of the things. So there are things that you can look for right now to start building your grant writing ability. And you might even, if you find something in here, you might even use it as you're going through this grant writing class as a template for, this is how I would apply for this grant kind of thing, unless they make you use one specific thing. I don't know how the rest of the course is set up. So so that's one of the advantages of that. So now I'm gonna, if I wanted to do save the search, I can hit save a search, and it will let me choose the name. So if I had a previous search like life science example, which is this, I could select that, or I could create an entirely new search. And this is where you can choose to have an alert every day. Don't suggest you do that. Every Monday, which is what I do, or the first day of the month. What I do is every Monday. So I get an email every Monday. If there's no new grants, I tell it to send it anyway, so I know that the system's working, because I don't trust anything. Or if it's no new grants, you can also select it not to send you anything. Once you have, you can export all of this data if you wanted to. I've never had any reason to do that, but if you want to do that, you can. When you're in the grant, it'll have all of the details, once again, that you need. It'll take you to the application URL, things like that. And so if you have a save searches, like this one, you can click save searches and pull it up, and you can edit anything that you want to edit. And you can also look at pre-solicitations. So you can search pre-solicitations. So pre-solicitations are, if they haven't told you what those are notices of the intent to have a grant application opportunity to come out. So a lot of people watch pre-solicitations because they want to know, hey, next month this grant's coming out. What can I do as far as making sure that I have some information available and some background research or whatever to write my grant once the actual grant goes up? Because sometimes grants don't have a long turnaround. Sometimes it takes, they have 2 months, or they say in the pre-solicitation that you have to tell them that you intend to apply for the grant. So if you don't do that, then you won't be able to even apply for the grant. So that's what's important about this area. The problem is it doesn't give you the complete opportunity to set up for graduate, but you can go through and look at it. It doesn't have that many more. The only thing you can't do is you can't save this as a search. So this is something you have to manually come in and do. But it's still something that's very good. So it will show you your search history and things that you may have looked at. And if you have excluded grants, so when you have your searching, you can actually tell it to, I don't want to see this grant again. So you can actually tell it to exclude the grant from your search, okay? Or you can tag it as saying this is a favorite. So you can do one of the two things. You can also tag it to a specific area. So there's a lot of capability within this on how you can set up so that things display for you. So that's one of the nice things. The currently favorites and tags is brand new, so they just put it in. I don't even have any in here right now. If you click recommendations, it goes through and look. This is where it's really awesome. There are 3,868 opportunities that I could look at that are open and continuous that fall in my research interests. And that's just, to me, amazing. And if I was to choose graduate only, I still have 3,395. So that's one of the things that, you know, you can look at and do. So, and it may be because for library science, our degree, our terminal degree is our master's. That's our terminal degree. So it may be that that's the reason why when I click graduate, I still see so many opportunities. It may be when in life sciences and other areas where you hit graduate or whatever, when you have your research interests in there, you may see a lot less. That just may be the nature of our terminal degree versus what you will have as a terminal degree, which would be a PhD. I don't know. So you can do all of these different things. Under supports, I cannot encourage you enough to learn more about this resource by using their YouTube channel. They have a huge amount of videos that tell you how to do everything. So they have searching for awarded projects, pre-solicitations, using the homepage, suggesting a new feature, that's not a big thing, trying a keyword search, exporting grants. Like I said, I've never done that, but you can watch this video that's 47 seconds long and learn how to do it if you needed to. Saving your search, everything that annotating grants with this, which is something new. So that if you wanted to, you can annotate and put notes on the grant opportunities. So you can say, you know, what to talk to Dr. So-and-so about this. And then you can save that. And then when you're going back in and you've tagged it, you'll see also the annotation that says, oh, I wanted to talk to Dr. So-and-so about this. And it will remind you, why did I tag it? Well, you tagged it because of this reason. So that's one of the other things that you can do in this. How to do all of that is in all of these different, plus there's a lot of long webinars on different information that you can utilize. So this is Grant Forward is one of the resources that I cannot say enough about making sure that you know how to use. It is really just a wealth of information that will help you get started on looking for things now, getting into the mindset of looking for things. Because I know you are all inundated with your research and you're all, you know, as just like all other students, stressed out about getting everything done. But starting these early habits of looking for research opportunities, how do I use these tools? How do I set up these searches? Is going to be so beneficial to you as you go into your career, whether it be at an industry job or in an institute or a academic setting, wherever you may go. This is going to just benefit you so much so that you can find the things that you need to find. I know Grant Forward is one of the biggest resources that are used at academic institutions. However, I don't know the percentage of academic institutions that use it, and there may be another product out there, but this one is used by a lot of the academic health centers that I have talked to. So it's probably a good bet that if you get into the habit of using it, you probably will see it if you move into another academic institution. And if you're in the industry, they have wonderful people in industry who look for all of those things and do it all for you. In some cases, not all, because I have a friend who works in industry, and they're just like, here, you need to apply for this. And they just give it to them and stuff like that. So they don't have to look for anything. All right, so the PowerPoint that I have here, let me stop share. Let me go back to this. Again. So the PowerPoint, what I showed you live on the website, is also things that are in here. Choosing your categories, highlighting graduate, saving your search. So the basics of what I just went over are in here in case you can't remember what did she say about that. The basics are in here, and I have it show you how to get to the Grant Forward YouTube channel so that you can look at all of the other resources that are available in Grant Forward. So does anybody have any questions about anything? Grants, library resources, anything like that? Okay. Remember that you can use Grant Forward to look at previous grant announcements. So, you can use that as well. In this, you can look at closed and see what it is. In Grant Forward, let me show you this real quick. In Grant Forward, so if you go in and you see search awarded projects, and I want to see who did target focal adhesion kinase in thyroid cancer. I can click that, and it will tell me who applied for that and who got it, how much they got, and it'll give you an abstract of what they've done. So as you're looking at things, you can say, well, how did they write their abstract? What did they put in it that I need to make sure my abstract will have in it? Obviously, you don't want to plagiarize any of them, but it gives you a kind of a roadmap to, wow, okay, this is what a successful candidate wrote. And you might want to go in and look at some different ones to see, especially if you put some keywords in that you might be able to go. So one of the things that it doesn't have graduate in here as an option, which is one of the things that sort of annoys me, because obviously there's tons of graduate grants out there, and why they don't have that listed. And I don't know. Yeah, see, it doesn't give, it's not, I don't know where they put those. Anyway, but you can kind of go in and you can look and see how many people have had success with these. All right, so that's one of the things. I forgot to put that in the PowerPoint, but if you just click on awards, it comes up, and then you can create the search however you want. Once again, though, you can't save this as a save search because they're obviously thinking you don't need to be alerted about any of this because these are all passed. So that's the reason why they don't have a save search. All right. So, do I have any questions? Was this helpful? So I'm going to be sending you a link. That'll be an evaluation, because we do use an evaluation. It'll be online. And if you could please make sure that you fill that out, I would appreciate it, because we like to collect data. And if you're like, oh, she talked way too, don't talk about grants.gov so much. Talk about these other resources more. That's the kind of stuff that I want. I don't talk about the actual writing, because you're going to have a session from my colleague who has he's a writing specialist, that he'll talk about the resources available for just writing and things like that. we just bought a brand new resource from the American Chemical Society, their whole writing a reference system and stuff, and I'm sure he'll mention that when he gets to that class. I'll make sure that I haven't put that on the grants.gov, the grants library resources, and I'll put that on there. I forgot to put that link on there. I'll add that today. All right. Well, I appreciate your attention and your time, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. And if you have any questions, once again, please, I am the liaison to the basic sciences. So feel free to contact me if you're like, hey, I'm thinking about something, but I need a search done. We can do that here in the library. We have one person who's a chemistry major. Unfortunately, we don't have access to ACS's resources, but we have other chemical resources that we can search. All right. And obviously, we do major searches for PubMed and Web of Science and all those other things. All right. Well, thank you. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and I will end the session. And once again, you'll get that link to the evaluation in the next, it may not go out to Monday, but it should be in the next hour, I'm hoping. All right. Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
you.